That was pretty cool. If you're constantly negotiating with yourself, this is why nothing is sticking. And I'm not talking about laziness. I'm talking about the people who know what to do, but still find themselves not doing it consistently. And that used to be me. I mean, I'm going to be transparent. I'm not perfect. I still do it, and I consider it a daily discipline. But I knew I didn't lack the information, and I knew I didn't lack the actual effort to do it, right? What I lacked was legit execution. So every day would start with the same internal debate. Dang, should I train today? You know, should I take the vitamins? And I mean talking small things, but this small actions can lead to larger actions, right? If you're constantly negotiating yourself on the small actions every day, you're going to find yourself really negotiating with yourself on the bigger actions later on and in the day as well. And it's not that I didn't want to do them, I just didn't make it easy for myself to actually act on those actions. Or I just gave myself the option to say no, right? When realistically it should be a, hey, this is what I'm doing, right? Like, for example, like before I actually scheduled my workouts and figured out what days I was going to do what with along with the core exercises I knew I was going to do that day, it was very hard for me to get up in the morning and want to actually act on it. If I woke up and I didn't know what I was doing, I'd be like, shit, should I even train today? What am I going to train today? And I just gave myself the option to negotiate. When realistically, when I sat down and wrote out my workouts, wrote out the core exercises, what I'm going to do at what weight, right? And at least gave myself a bit of structure where it's like Monday it's legs, Tuesday it's shoulders, Wednesday it's rest, and no matter what, it's that. I cut out the negotiation with myself and said, on these days, I train. And that's just one of my examples, but that can apply to pretty much anything in life. I mean, if you wake up and not knowing what you're going to do for the day, or at least think about it the night before and visualize it, you're going to wake up and not really know what you're going to do with the day. And you're going to kind of feel a little lost. You might not know what to do. Maybe you have work, maybe it's your day off. And if you're structuring it or you're planning it, you're going to feel lost and it's going to feel hectic and it's going to feel like you really just don't know what you're going to do. Every time I gave myself the option to negotiate, I would lose way more often than I would win. I think this is where most people don't realize the actual fault of negotiating with yourself. Negotiation, it feels responsible. It feels like, okay, I'm thinking about my actions, but every time you would lose a negotiation to yourself, or you would skip a daily practice or miss something important to you because you negotiated, realistically, you started marking a tally for the person that you don't want to. Over time, what you're really doing is you're weakening your word to yourself. You're weakening, I say what I'm going to do. The more you act on, hey, I'm going to do this, and you actually do it, the more you give yourself confidence in not others and yourself and responsibility, but also your responsibility in yourself and telling yourself, if I'm going to do this, I know I will. And like, that's what happens when you start it. What happens is you start stopping to trust yourself. You stop trusting yourself. You say you're going to do one thing and, with these little things that you might have skipped in the future or the past or whatever it is, but the little things that you skip, if you continue doing that, you're going to start not trusting yourself and start not committing yourself to the daily habits and things that you actually want to do. If you can't commit yourself to the small things in life, how do you expect yourself to commit to the bigger things? And that can go all the way to, again, the simplest things as working out, right? Like, it can literally just be because, hey, if I skipped a workout, how are you going to commit yourself to something bigger? Like, it doesn't make any sense if you're skipping things that you said you're going to do. And when you can't hold yourself to a standard in the gym, I mean, it shows up everywhere. It's going to show up in your work, it's going to show up in business, and it's going to show up in your lifestyle. When you start negotiating the small things, you start negotiating your own standards, your priorities, your non-negotiables. You start negotiating those and your execution. And suddenly you're busy like all day, but nothing actually moves you towards your goal at all. Here's the shift. Disciplined people do not have more willpower. The people who do what they say they're going to do not have more willpower. They just cut out the room for negotiation and cut out decision. Now, what do I mean by that? Essentially, it's deciding once. You decide ahead of time what your training days are. You decide ahead of time what your work blocks are. You decide ahead of time your daily actions. And when you do that, you stop waking up asking how you feel. And that starts to become your foundation. Those are your negotiables, the things that you do every single day, every single week, every single month, no matter what the circumstance, right? Unless for whatever reason you are literally unable to do it. But those are your non-negotiables. Like for example, me, it's like mine used to be by the minute, by the hour, by the second. I've realized now with especially working and having a lifestyle, people, relationships, and building something on the side, you're gonna have to adapt or die. So I know my non-negotiables are an early wake up, a morning movement, hydrating, and I'm not kidding, it's literally the smallest things, vitamins, hydrating, refueling, reading 10 pages and applying to myself, and a bunch more. But those are the non-negotiables no matter what for a daily discipline. Then I have my weekly, and then I have my monthly, and right now I'm building my yearly. But those are my non-negotiables that no matter what happens in a day, I will get them done, and I do as I say I'm going to do. And then number two is you start removing the question in yourself. When you wake up, and I use early morning for an example because I think most people start to struggle in the early morning, but you can also use this anytime in your life too. You can never control your first thought, but you can always control your second. For example, when you wake up in the morning, you can go, fuck, I don't want to do anything. But then you can control your second thought and say, okay, that wasn't me talking. What should I start with first? Remove the question, stop asking how you feel, and get what you need to get done and schedule it ahead of time. Because when you start saying there's no question, there's no negotiation. And then number three is just shrink the task, right? This whole channel and everything I talk about is really about how you don't have to take the giant steps right away. The small actions, the small habits, and the small daily disciplines lead to bigger actions, bigger goals, and bigger accomplishments. So shrink it down. Instead of saying, I'm going to train for 2 to 3 hours and get all of this done, go, hey, I'm just going to show up at the gym. if that's the struggle for you. I'm just an example, but this can apply to anything, right? That can apply to reading. That can apply to actually committing yourself to a task, right? Instead of being, I'm going to do it for an hour or two consistently, or I'm going to jump in the deep end, just go, hey, I'm going to just start for 5 minutes. I'm just going to do it for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, I can stop. Or, hey, I'm just going to show up and just show up and be here. And once I get there, I can decide if I want to stay or go. But usually those first 2 baby steps, 3 baby steps, those are what get you into the bigger habits and disciplines. And then you can start stacking from there. Next time, after 10 minutes, you're not going to only want to work out for 10 minutes. You're going to want to work out for 30. Next, you're going to want to work out for an hour. Next, you're going to work out for 2. Next, you're going to really refine your workouts, right? It all stacks. But the thing is the people, they feel like they have to start all or nothing. You do not. One, you just start, you remove the negotiations with yourself, stop asking how you feel, and decide ahead of time what you're going to do. And then once you say you're going to do it, you do it. That starts building confidence, your own script, and saying who you are, right? You can start trusting yourself, and you feel just a whole new level of vibration. And then step number 4 is reward the execution. The win is not the intensity or how long you did it or what you got. The win is actually getting started and doing the task and keeping your word. And that is how self-trust is built. And that is what changed everything for me. I stopped negotiating for myself and I started deciding for myself ahead of time what was needed to be done. And consistency just felt better. And not because it was easier, it's because the decision was already made. And once you start trusting yourself and understanding when you say something, you're going to do it, right? That is where everything starts to change because you start becoming a man or a person of your word. You start writing that script and that person for yourself. And this can go back to don't commit yourself to things you know you're not going to do or you don't want to do, right? That can go back to saying no more often, right? Not having FOMO, but just understanding that if I say no now, don't lie to yourself. If you're not going to do it, then don't commit to it, right? If there's a maybe, don't commit to it. If it's a full-on yes, then commit to it and then get it done. Because now you stack a win and you say who you are by doing what you said you're going to do, right? But it's those small little things when you say yes to commitments that you know you're not going to want to do or do, and you cancel, right? Those little things you stop trusting yourself, stop trusting what you say, your word, your reliability, your commitment to other people and other things. And then when you stack that trust and those commitments, when you sit down and say, I am going to start working out consistently and harder, or I'm going to start adding to my business, or I'm going to start showing up as a better leader to my salespeople, to my roles, to my team members. When you now trust your word and you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it. right? You have a way better chance of fucking getting it done than I'm just saying it and then not committing to it, right? But you have to build the story, the confidence in yourself beforehand to start really digging deeper and committing yourself to the bigger accomplishment. So when negotiation disappears, discipline comes through. You stop relying on the motivation. You stop relying on the willpower. You stop starting over. You stop breaking your own promises to yourself. You start trusting yourself. So if this helped, subscribe. This is what I really talk about, what I show. There's more to come. And if you think you can dig a little bit deeper, again, I'll have the link below. If you want to try a little 7-day reset, it's all about the small things, the small stacks, and the small habits. There's a whole worksheet down below that you can follow for free. If you like it, then awesome. You can commit to more if you'd like. Or if not, then just move on. But it's something to try if you're really starting over, struggling, and that can apply to anything like working out, in business, in work life, in leadership, right, with your team, and leading yourself. So unlearn negotiating and learn to execute with yourself.